You're good to go.
Okay, team, we're ready to go. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Connor.
And obviously, I'm in the middle of something.
John, we're going. We're on duty. So, my name is David Smith. I am working on behalf of the Residents Council this afternoon to continue the series of council connections started 2 years ago this month. Speak, not good enough? Okay. Started 2 years ago this month. This is some 40-some odd episodes in. This episode will feature Shannon, who is the marketing director and has been for some time, and she can talk about that, but just give me a couple minutes for my commercial. The Residents Council started this series to do two things: to bring Residents Council news to the community and to other viewers out there, and to, as a secondary thing, to promote the sharing of information and the update of what's going on in the different departments around here, and the different interest groups and clubs and committees, etc. And today, as I said, we have Shannon. But the Residents Council also asked me to update you on two things. One is that the Road Committee is collecting money on behalf of itself to give to the hourly employees at the end of this year. The campaign runs through September 30th, so it's actively out there now. This is the third time we promoted this in September. The first was 2020, and then 2021 and 2022. The second thing is, Carl Rodman, the chair of the nominating committee, wants me to remind people that the nominating committee is still accepting nominations for the Residents Council election, which will be held in October. We have, I think, 5 confirmed candidates for 4 positions. It would be a much better election if we had 6 or 7 candidates running. We have some good ones, but there's room for more. So a year ago, Shannon was on maternity leave, and her colleague, Courtney, was interviewed by Carl Rodman and gave you guys a sense of what her department does. Today we're going to hear it from Shannon's point of view. So Shannon, I asked you when we spoke in your office the other day to take a couple minutes early in the show to tell people how you got here, where you're from, your interests, something about your family if you choose to share, whatever you want to share about us, how you got to be here.
Sure. So I have worked for Woodland Pond now for a little over 9 years. June was actually 9 years for me. I absolutely love it here. Could never imagine, leaving or going anywhere else. I live in Marlboro with my husband and my 4 children. Actually, I always lived locally. I ended up graduating from Marlboro High School as he did, and we have our house and our kids, and I don't see myself moving anytime soon from the area as well. When I started off here, I actually had, I started off as a marketing coordinator position. There was a different marketing firm that was contracted in with Woodland Pond that managed the marketing office, and the marketing director was on site maybe 3 to 4 times a month or so. There were a couple of seasonal salespeople that worked here, and 6 months after I started, they wanted to move me into doing sales. So I was a little bit, caught off guard here. I've never sold anything before. Prior to Woodland Pond, I actually worked in real estate and insurance, but in the back, office end, managing the office and everything prior to and after the sale, not the actual selling part. So I was definitely a little bit nervous about doing that, but this is not a true sales position. I mean, it is, but it's telling Woodland Pond's story. It's needs matching and getting people to understand what life is like here, what's involved in moving here, helping them make their decisions, and lining things up, so they match perfectly. And then I moved into retirement counselor position for a few years, and then I was promoted into the marketing director position back in 2018-19. So I was the interim director and then official director in January 2019.
So, how many people in your department?
We have a very small department. So in the marketing office is myself and Courtney, who is now the marketing representative. She does the coordinator position, plus also tours and does sales as well. And then Natalie Brussick, the admissions coordinator at the health center, she actually came in, started helping out marketing the year prior to Courtney's arrival. So she's been helping us out now, I think, for about 4 years, a little over 4 years or so. And then Kathleen Desmarie, who does concierge, she also helps with marketing phone calls and outreach and things like that. We have events coming up.
Okay. So, how does somebody come to find us? What attracts them here? Is it our location, our activities, our residents, word of mouth? Where do they come from? Because I know you did the research.
I did. So I started digging through all of our active leads recently to kind of prep for some questions that you might have for me today. Right now we have about 2,000 active leads in our database. And these are people that are currently still interested in us, not just someone that has contacted us and said, this is not for me, or I can't afford it, or whatever the case is. These are people that are still actively thinking about it. About 15% of them, about 12% are from New Paltz, Highland, Gardner area, so our immediate local areas, only 12% of them. About 15% are the larger local cities, Kingston, Poughkeepsie, included Middletown, Newburgh. So we are, a mix of Dutchess, Ulster, and Orange County. About 15% are New York City. Overall, about 75% are New York State. So generally, the local counties around us, and then a few random out of state. We have a lot of Florida, which is probably our second most common state here, and then New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. Typically, if you're not from the state, there's something that draws you back to this area. Your children are used to live here, there's a weekender here, something in that sense. Resident referrals are always our biggest source of, hearing about us. Of course, if their friends live here, they want to, they're interested, they want to come in and take a tour. We also advertise, we do print advertising in some local magazines. We do a lot of digital and online advertising as well. We try to capture people from all over the place, not just our local surrounding areas. There's a lot of interesting digital options that you can do to kind of capture people. There's device ID, there's targeting, there's all sorts of things. So if somebody has a cell phone or some kind of a laptop, some kind of a device, and they walk into certain places, if they search for different things on their on their internet browser, we can pop up and kind of get in front of everyone. And obviously, it's kind of weird, but a lot of places do that sort of things now. You'll find if you're talking about something in front of your cell phone, it might pop up because your phone listens to you. All
That's
sorts
how
of
that happens.
yeah. So we're doing all of that as well here, and we're trying to really get people from different areas, to know that we're here. We focused a lot in the past year on Albany, since there's no CCRCs in that area. We started radio advertising as well. So we're constantly looking at new ways to get in front of different people in different areas and bring them to Woodland Pond.
So, for my own self, I qualify under one of the categories you mentioned. My wife and I are from Orange County, not that far away. And we heard about this place through word of mouth from two residents, one who was more friendly with her and one more friendly with me. We came up and did some unofficial visits and then official visits. Would that be a standard story, or is that just?
It is. Yes.
We're not that special, Susan.
I hear about resident referrals both ways. Sometimes the residents walk right into my office or call me and say, my friend's interested. Can you mail them a packet, or can I have a packet to give to them? Some ask me to reach out right away. Typically, they want to talk to their friends first about it before they talk to me. I always say you're the best person to give them their initial visit. Show them what your life is like here, and if they are still interested in details, we can talk. And then resident events. We do the resident luncheon event every early spring, or late spring, early summer, which is usually always a good turnout. This year we did 2 of them. Last year we did 2 of them. It's always been our most successful event because the audience is listening to people that live here. and listening to their personal stories.
So, how many contacts do you get in a, let's say, a month, if that's a fair measurement period? It doesn't vary by time of year?
It does. So typically 65 to 70 new people contact us per month. And a lot of that, the bulk of it comes from online. They'll fill out our forms online, we'll contact them back. We also are new, we have a digital marketing company that tracks everything for us. There's call tracking they do as well, so if they have one of the online ads, there's a special phone number instead of just the main desk number that they're calling, that way they can track where they're coming from and what they saw.
And as far as seasonality?
So this year, we really haven't had an ultimate slow period until kind of the past couple of weeks or so. It has slowed down just a little bit, which is pretty typical. We had a busy winter, we had a very busy spring and summer. Normally January, February, even March, it's a little bit slow. Springtime, once the weather turns, everyone wants to kind of move on with their planning and so on. And then usually August, September-ish, everyone that was making their plans early on has made them, and then they start up again end of September, early October. It's pretty typical.
So we have heard you say in the management Q&A and Michelle say that at the present time we're pretty well filled up and have a waiting list on most of the size units.
Yes.
So does that make recruiting harder for you when you tell people that?
It's a challenge. I mean, it's like putting a puzzle together and rearranging it every day. We have to, everyone that's coming in, we're now looking at, okay, who needs to move in at a certain time, which apartments are coming up, which ones need the most refurbishing work, and which, need the least work done.
Excuse me, you say somebody needs to move in now, what kind of person might that be?
So they may have had their house on the market. They understand anyone that's coming into Woodland Pond, if we have an available apartment, we can only hold that for someone for 60 days in order to be fair for everyone. So for those people that are selling their house, and we're very upfront with this, but if you are selling your house and you need the proceeds of your house to close on your apartment here, they need to have kind of a temporarily, plan B if we do not have inventory for them at that point. So we stay in very close contact for them. But once we know that their house is under contract, once we know that they have a closing date, we know they need a home. So we are juggling now, who those people are and what we're going to have for them, so we can plan, as best as we can for them here.
In our chat the other day in your office, you mentioned the phrase ready list. Can you tell us what that means?
So the ready list. So what we're doing right now, we have today one open unit, one in the works. But with that being said, we do expect possibly another handful or so to become available between now and the end of the year. Our rates go up, obviously, as you know, every January 1st. So we send out a notice to everyone in our database that's interested, letting them know that the rates are going to increase, giving them an idea of what to expect. And now we are telling them we are taking names for our ready list, which is going to consist of people that are interested in taking one of those apartments that we're expecting to come up between now and the end of the year. Now, we do not know where they will be, we do not know what size they will be, we do not know any of that yet. We just know that this is what we're probably expecting. We could also be wrong and have nothing come up. But the ready list people are going to be ready that if we call them and we tell them we have something, they can pay their entrance fee this year to avoid the increase for next year. This is something brand new that we have not done just yet because we've always had something in the works, so it's a new thing that we're trying out this year.
So that's part of putting the jigsaw puzzle back
Yes.
together every day.
Every day.
Is that the biggest challenge or just one of several?
I mean, it goes along with having no availability. On the other end too, we've reached out to residents. We have a nice list of homes to show because if we have tours, obviously they want to see something. And if we have an apartment that has not been moved into yet, that's what we've been doing. But we're very close to having all apartments fully occupied. There's a few that are just finishing up renovations and new residents will be moving in. So our future look of tours are going to be coming into your homes. So we do have a nice list though of everyone and every single size now that has volunteered to say, you can call me, just give me 24 hours notice, and you know, we'll come by.
And that's true whether they want to film a movie in our place or not?
Yes, we may bring cameras.
Is there any of that coming up anymore, or, 'cause I know you were involved in
Yeah.
helping it happen, but it didn't.
We're actually going to be doing a resident video, planning for sometime mid to end of October that I will be,
Tell us.
I will be reaching out to see who's interested in participating in that. But we want to get a new video for our website, to, send by email to someone who's interested and capture some resident testimonies, pictures of your apartments, video of your apartments. So I will be reaching out very soon to see who is interested in participating in that.
That really sounds like fun.
Yeah,
Good.
that'll be fun.
So I have two topics I want to get to. COVID. You were going for part of it, but here for a good part of it as well. What effect did that have on the traffic or the availability? Never mind when most people got here, because that's a whole other set
Right.
of issues, but in your job.
It did slow it down. So in 2020, we actually had the strongest first quarter that we had in a while. This first quarter, like I said, earlier, is typically slow. So we started out the year very strong, had a very decent first quarter, and then COVID happened. So for marketing, we were not doing tours from March until I think the end of May. We started again.
Is that because of COVID?
Because of COVID, yes. So once we did start doing tours, I pulled this information. We did have about 16 apartment sales that year. So we did pretty decent for compared to what was going on around us, because other CCRCs were not getting people in. We did end the year with 11 available apartments, which is typically not what we've seen over the past years prior. And we did have a lot of turnover that year. Last year, and I rewatched Courtney's video last night actually. So Courtney's video. So she talked about how we had a lot of below apartments and she said her goal was to sell everything that year. So we went from the date of her video until the end of the year, we had 19 more apartments.
So that's just a little over 4 months.
A little over 4 months. The entire year last year, we had 34 apartment sales. So we had the best sales year ever last year. So we fully recovered from COVID. We've had a very strong year this year, and as apartments come up, they're spoken for, and it's just been an ongoing trend. We have the ready list, so we're doing very, very well. We've fully recovered from all of that.
I missed something earlier on. Did you talk about the age of the prospective residents that you're seeing? Is it going up, going down, staying the same?
So I pulled the past 3 years this week just to kind of go over everything. We hover between 78, 79, 80. Average over the past 3 years was 79 of all the residents coming in. So we are still trending younger than the industry average, which is I believe 81, 82.
Lately around here, and your department's been involved in it too, we've heard the word diversity. And do we have it? Do we not have? Do we have enough? Do we have enough in one area or another? What are you encountering as obstacles?
I mean,
issues?
we constantly, obviously all the residents want Woodland Pond to be as diverse as possible, as we all do. It's an ongoing issue, not just at Woodland Pond, but with all CCRCs. They're all experiencing it. We just came from the CCRC summit in Albany a few weeks ago with all the different CCRCs that are in New York State, and it's an issue that we were talking about with all of them. You can only be as diverse as your community around you, is what they say, and there's lots of different ways to, count diversity. It's not just, what someone looks like. There's, different backgrounds, there's different cultures, there's different religions, there's different, sexual orientation. We can only do as much as we can to get our name out there, and, like I said, with the digital advertising, you have ways to kind of get in front of a lot of different people. Our database is filled with people from all different places right now, so our interest is there. It's just, depends on when they're ready to come in and, who's ready to come in for an actual tour and take a look in person.
Thank you. Any current projects underway in your department that you're involved in? You had mentioned the updating of the website. We spoke the other day.
Yeah, we are updating the website, which we're also bringing Cameron in to give us support with her new role as well. So the website was changed completely over last year and went live right before I went on maternity leave. And then the resident portal went live, I think a month or so after that. And then our entirely busy end of year happened. So it definitely needs some updates. It's been on our radar. It's not forgotten, but it is a project that we're updating everything on. We also this past May, hired a new digital marketing company that has been very well. It's been a great relationship so far, and they're helping us with everything that we've had issues with before. So they're jumping on things with the website, with things that we need help on right away. It's not just kind of waiting up weeks or two at a time to get a response, as we were seeing with our prior company. We're designing new brochures right now to go out. So we're doing a lot of different marketing projects on this end here.
Thank you. One last question I have, and then we'll get to the audience. I'm guessing that a negative part of your job would be when you have to say no to someone that they don't qualify for health or financial reasons. How do you go about that? Everybody here has qualified, so it's not.
Yeah, so it's tough. I mean, we've changed our admissions policy a few times over the past few years, so we're very upfront and transparent when somebody comes in for a tour. Obviously, if there's something noticeable that we can see that they need help with or assistance with, we talk about it, we address things, but you can't always tell what's going on in someone medically wise until you see it on paper or until they want to share that information with you. So one thing that we do with everyone is when they are interested or when we're just explaining the procedure at the end of the tour, we take out the admissions policy and we show them the steps involved in applying if they're interested. And included in that packet are 2 pages. One shows the requirements you need to meet in order to be approved for independent living, which is pretty much you need to take care of yourself without the help of another person. And the other is the requirements you need to meet in order to take our life care package. So we're very upfront with everything. Then they take their health care packet that we provide them with, have their doctor fill it out, and meet with Sarah and Mary Jo to review their medical history. So we usually don't get to that step without addressing what their concerns are. So typically it's not a shock when the interview happens. If there is something that there's a concern about, we're talking about it up front. They know there's concerns. They know that it's going to come down to the results of their medical form and their conversations through their interview to see if we could offer them residency here. So it's really not a shock. It is hard to see someone that has waited too long. Maybe there's a lot of people in our database that have toured a few times and said I'm not ready yet. And when they come back, it's because they've had some kind of a health scare, and sometimes it's too late, and that's tough. It's even more tough when a couple waits too long and one is no longer independent, and we have to talk to them about entering into Woodland Pond in separate levels of care. So that is hard, but it's something we are very transparent with at the beginning, so it should not come as a shock, if somebody has concerns like that.
Before we get to the audience, are there any topic areas that you wanted to put out there that I didn't think to ask you about?
Nothing I can think of right now. I know one thing that we are going to be doing too that I would need help from, and we're going to start recruiting sort of like an ambassador crew of residents with our waitlisters growing. We want to start inviting them in more regularly. We do have future resident programs for the waitlisters, but I want to start putting things on the calendar for them. We're going to start doing future resident happy hours and dinner to follow afterwards, and have some residents mingle and talk with them and have dinner with them, and try to really turn the waitlisters into the ready list is what we're aiming for on that. So I will be needing your help help for things like that.
The categories, ready list, weightlifters, anything like that?
That's it. And then prospective residents, if they're not on the list.
Is they paid a certain amount?
They have.
I'd like any questions from the audience, use a microphone. If you can't come, I'll come to you, but otherwise, folks out there don't get it. But the first question is Irvin's. He asked it,
I just became aware of the fact that it's possible to bring someone in for life care, even though they're not an independent living person. Is that true, or is that just rumor?
Not for life care. Do you mean entering into the health center?
Yes.
Okay. So it can be possible based on availability. So right now there is not an option to do so because our health center is running pretty full. And being 13 years old now, we have a lot of independent living residents that may have predictable future needs. So we actually stopped doing tours of the health center for any non-residents right now. And we did so since last March. If that changes and there's more availability, then yes, somebody that's a non-independent living resident can enter into the health center, but it's all based on availability.
Who would be the person I would want to talk to find out more definite information or put a name on the list or something along those lines?
Natalie Russick?
Natalie?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Her name is listed, Natalie's name is listed in the resident phone books in the back where the staff is. Anybody? Paul.
Hi, Cameron was saying the other day that she's involved in very strategic planning activities, and I think Michelle Comodio talked about 1 year and 3 year and 5 year strategic plans. Are you integrated into that, or are they just going to tell you, all right, this is what we've decided and this is what you need to do?
No, I mean, marketing for strategic planning, we are always adapting to what the market is doing, what inventory we have here. For our planning, we want to do, it might be a little bit different. I talked about the new brochures we're doing, the website updates, different, marketing events that we might start doing. So Cameron will be involved in that and helping us out. She's also going to help us out with the projects for refurbishing the apartments when that time comes, to stay on top of all the project details to make sure everything is in process and scheduled and so on. So we have quite a bit that she can definitely help us out with.
Jakob, first, thank you for Jakob for continuing this program. I know you've been bearing the burden of scheduling the interviews and the interviewees and the interviewers, so thank you for that and thank you for including me.
Thank you, for initiating this. This is great. I just have, a personal experience. When we came here, we were talking about going to perhaps moving out from New York City for about 5-6 years. We didn't do much. And we just happened to be invited to one of the dinners with residents. And the thing that really made us make the decision almost on the spot was the tremendous involvement of residents in the activities here. My wife is an occupational therapist, and besides being in the school year where she was practicing for autistic children, in the summer, instead of working in the school, she would take time off and go to different nursing homes in the area just to survey what's out there and how do they work. So she was pretty aware of the issue of having activities which are basically driven by the residents, totally different from many nursing homes that she came across. So, and one of the things that really convinced us, that this is a great place, was the residents telling their stories. So I don't know if you can quantify that, but from your experience, how important is that part? Because for us, it was critical.
That's huge. That's the most important part. I am very thankful that we can have a tour any given day, any time, walk by any resident, and they stop and, if you see me or Courtney or Natalie with anyone, they're interested in Woodland Pond, And the residents always stop and they say, this is a wonderful place, I've been here for this long, you know, you'll be glad you made it, it's the best decision, and that's huge for us.
And the complementary issue with that is because there are all these activities, and I think when we started, I mean, I joined the sustainability committee from the start, I mean, like within months that we moved in. And we have done a lot of things in terms of sustainability, which involves activities from many people in the community. One of them, as you are aware, is the Repair Cafe. And when we started doing this, I realized that probably we are the only CCRC that, I guess, has that. And it's an initiative by residents volunteering to do things for other residents, and you know, in terms of education and actually getting people to, you know, see that there is other ways of dealing with that. Do you think that there is a role to these things in terms of marketing?
Absolutely. I mean, the resident involvement here is huge. And I tell everyone here, I say, you know, this is their home, they run this place, and, you know, we just manage to maintain it for them.
Yeah. Other questions? Joan Hollister.
So the waiting list keeps getting longer and longer. In your experience, are there people who are currently on the waiting list, or in the past, were there people on the waiting list who then dropped off? Or do most people actually move in when it's their turn?
So the waiting list started back in 2014. So when they started, there were people that were joining, and there are people on our list that are still not ready for a few years, which is fine. In the past, the waiting lists were always composed of people that were like, I'm not ready now, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years from now. Now we're at a point where we have people that are really waiting and really want the next one. When I actually first started here, things were extremely different. We had such a demand for one-bedroom apartments. We had an internal list of residents that were living in the Willow apartments, the one-bedroom with the den, or the Cedars, the 2 bedrooms, waiting for one-bedroom apartments to open up. I think there was about 8 or 9 of them. We also had, I think, about a dozen cottages that were unoccupied. I used to do tours and show people multiple cottages, which is
Multiple empty cottages.
multiple empty cottages, which is amazing to even think that that sort of thing existed.
I was told that some of the offices here actually were stationed in cottages, like Gretchen was down there, and
Yeah.
whoever, others, perhaps marketing was stationed down here too. I don't know.
That was before my time, the cottage part, but they were using them as offices for a while. The marketing office was actually in quite a few apartments over the years. We were stationed in an apartment and moved along if someone was moving into them. And then we ran out of apartments, so we had to come in and have an actual office. So.
Wayne, was that a question or just raising your hand? Sure.
In an altogether different vein, I remember when you were in charge of marketing and I was looking and everything went fine, but then you took maternity leave. And, you know, it's pretty amazing that, you know, this was your 4th kid. And I was wondering, and I've always wondered, what it must be like for you having a baby, well now, let's say a toddler at home, as well as the others, being with very young people, and then during the day being with people average 75, 80 years old. It's such 2 very different populations. And I was wondering what that's like for you.
So I look forward to coming to work every day, I can tell you that much. My house is a bit of a zoo. I mean, my children range from age 1 to 18, so it's a lot to juggle and a lot to manage. But I mean, it keeps me on my toes, and I'm used to multitasking in every second of my life pretty much. So it works somehow.
That was a good one. Anybody else? Jill?
I'm just wondering how many people you encounter coming here for
sort of out of the blue, who don't really understand the difference between a CCRC and everything else.
We do get quite a few that do not understand. Some of us walk in the door with the same thought process that we're just like a monthly, 55 and up place or so on. We've added a lot of details to our website over the past few years. In the past, it was always kind of let them come in first, take a full tour before you share any financial information. People now that are interested in coming in and making these decisions, they want information now. They do not want to wait for scheduling a tour, coming in, being here for an hour and a half before they have any idea of what they're looking for. So we try to put starting prices, give them an idea about entrance fees, what life care is, what it covers, and we're always updating that to be as transparent as we can. And we have conversations with people about this over the phone. We do not make them come in for a tour first. We obviously want them to come in, but we want to make sure that we're not wasting their time or our time or anything like that as well.
Bill Wolves.
Now, I'm curious about how long the waiting list, in terms of numbers, like how many people are waiting for apartments, how many people are waiting on your waiting list for various units?
So every unit style has its own separate wait list. The cottages are obviously the longest. We have 15 people on them, and that's not counting the 6 that are waiting for the new cottages. We have, I think, 8 or 9 for the larger apartments. And actually, even the cedar, the standard 2-bedroom apartment, there's at least 8 or 9 people on that one as well. And the spruce and the willow, there's I think about a handful for the willow and 2 for the spruce. So.
Anybody else? Okay, then we'll wrap it up. Thank you, Inyaka, for being the producer, executive producer, wherever you are. And Shannon, thank you very much for sharing all that information.
Thank you.
And look under your chair and there'll be something for Oprah, I guess. Is that what you used to do, Susan?